I'm reading a fragment from Sappho, translated by Aaron Puchigian. He is one of my favourite translators working today and one of my favourite contemporary poets. His own stuff is well worth checking out, and this is one of my favourite translations of all time. Leave Crete. Leave Crete and sweep to this blessed temple, where apple orchard's elegance is yours, and smouldering altars, ample frankincense. Here under boughs a bracing spring percolates, roses without number umber the earth, and rustling the leaves drip slumber. Here budding flowers possess a sunny pasture where steeds could graze their fill, and the breeze feels as gentle as honey. Cyprus, here in the present blend your nectar with pure festal glee. Fill gilded bowls and pass them round lavishly. It's wonderful. And Aaron Puchigian has put a note on this fragment, and he says this fragment, the text begins with what's probably the second stanza of the original, and Aphrodite, in accordance with convention, would have been invoked in the first. The worshipper, who's not named, calls for divine aid in Eucharistic terms. This is ostensibly eclectic hymn, which is a hymn to summon a deity, but the poem actually uses colloquial rather than formal language. Whereas other eclectic hymns summon the deity from habitual haunts, this portion of the poem creates the place that will receive its heavenly visitor. The lush, vivid description of the sanctuary has provoked various interpretations. Some scholars argue that Sappho describes a real shrine in a precise cultic environment, others that the sacred precinct is a metaphor for woman's sexuality. The landscape is distinctly aphrodisiac. Burnett calls the fragment a portrait in which the goddess's best known attributes and parts are rendered as bits of landscape. Gardens, apples, perfumes, roses, field flowers and horses all serve to remind Aphrodite of herself, as she is worshipped in her various cults. So the apple orchards are Chadian. I don't know if I've pronounced that right, but that means charming. And that's a word most often used for personal charm. So apples, the most important fruit in Sappho, symbolise virginity in other songs. She gives us the earliest appearance of Libanotos. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, I can't speak ancient Greek, but that means frankincense. And that's the first appearance of that in Greek literature. The thick roses, which belong to spring, and the apples, which belong to autumn, suggest the perennial growing season of the Golden Age. In addition, the floral imagery evokes the blossoming fields, where, at least in literature, erotic encounters often take place. Here, substance shades into insubstantiality. The roses turn to shadows, and the leaves drip slumber. That's actually one of my favourite lines in this whole poem. Roses without number umber the earth, and rustling the leaves drip slumber. That's amazing. That's so... I mean, it's funny, you can't really call it Keatsian because Keats was way after Sappho, but it's I get the same sort of emotions evoked as when I read Keats, and he talks about like heading towards, going leafy woods, and I'm reminded of a Keats verse like shadows numberless. I love this umber, number, slumber. There's something very not rhythmic, but sort of lulling you to sleep about it. It's just that's beautiful. Anyway, Puchigian says all of the landscape elements induce not just normal sleep, but coma, a special sleep brought on by supernatural means. And then in the final stanza, Aphrodite pours out nectar or wine mixed with nectar for the celebrants, a liquid representing the divine presence among them. This mixture, like Aphrodite's arrival, integrates the mortal and immortal. I would highly recommend, if you like this poem, there's plenty more where that came from, if you go to pick up Stung with Love, Sappho, and that's the translation by Aaron Puchigian. It's great.